Welcome to the June 17th meeting of the Fall River Sewer Commission. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Paul, will you do the roll call, please?
Yep, President Almeida.
Present.
Member Bernier.
Present.
Member Souza.
Yeah, present.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that takes us to our agenda. First item on the agenda is citizen input. Mr. Ferlin, it's my understanding that there will be none. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm not aware of any that were was sent in. Anybody could send anything in today prior to noon at sewer@fallriverma.org. But I'm not aware of any public any citizens input that was sent in.
Okay, thank you. All right, that takes us to item number 2, stormwater fee assessments and appeals. I understand we have 3 appeals before us.
Yes, that is correct.
Are there any of the appeal members here?
Yep. So we do have them in the waiting room. We'll let them in one at a time as we go through. I think actually the last 2 may be together, and I believe Janet Riley is by herself. So the first one would be Janet Riley of 35 Judge Street. I think.
Can I stop you there?
Yes.
I believe from what I've read and seen, the issues are probably going to be the same. Should we wait before we decide until we hear all 3, or should we decide each one individually?
That's up to the board. You know, if you want, we can let all three of them come in at the same time if you'd like, and they could all present their case, and then the board could take one decision in relation to the abatement of the specific properties. Since they're individual properties, I think it's best, and they did file an appeal individually. I would, think it would probably be best for the board to vote individually on each one. But if you want to hear all of them before you vote on any of them, that would be doable. And the other thing, I just want to remind the board that we will be doing roll call votes for all votes during the meeting.
Okay. Before we get started, how do you gentlemen feel about that? Like Mr. Ferlin says, maybe the best idea would be to listen to each one individually and then make our decision on each one individually. Right. Is that the way to go?
I think it'd be a good idea.
Okay. Why don't we do that then? Let's go that route. Okay, Mr. Ferlin, want to bring in the first party?
Okay. Kate, if you could please let in Mrs. Riley.
Miss Riley.
Miss Riley, I apologize. And Miss Riley, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. You're on video as well.
Yes, I am. How are you today?
Excellent, excellent.
Very good.
Good. So if you want, if the commission would like, I can just give a little background on why the applicants are here today and why they've submitted an appeal. Back in January, we received a complaint of somebody in the South Watuppa area that they were being charged for stormwater and their neighbors were not being charged. After a review of multiple areas along the south end of the city in the South Watuppa Pond, it was realized that there were properties there that weren't being charged their stormwater fee. As per the ordinance 774-40 of the city ordinance, which falls underneath the stormwater fee, all the properties are eligible to be charged stormwater that have stormwater runoff that go into the South Watuppa Pond. The original stormwater, some of these properties were exempted in when the original ordinance was created back in 2008, because there wasn't any provision in the ordinance that allowed us to charge for properties that ran off into ponds or streams that we had control structures on. When the ordinance was modified in 2010, in 2011 and 12, these properties should have been charged at that time, as they do fall underneath the ordinance, the provisions of the ordinance. If you'd like, I can just read a couple of the excerpts from the ordinance, which I feel makes these properties eligible to be charged for the stormwater fee. So underneath ordinance section 74-140, customers of the stormwater utility. So the definition for that is includes all persons, properties, and entities served by and or benefiting from the utilities acquisition, management, maintenance, extension, and improvement of the public stormwater management system. The facilities and regulations of the public and private stormwater systems, facilities, and activities related hereunto, any persons, properties, or entities which will ultimately be served or benefited as a result of the stormwater management program. So that's kind of the definition of the customers that fall underneath the stormwater utility. So just another definition from in there, a stormwater facility, what is defined as a stormwater facility? It includes combined sewers, catch basins, storm drains, drainage pipes, culverts, streams, swales, wetlands, detention ponds, and ponds that have control structures such as dams and gatehouses. So the very last part of that definition under the stormwater facility is what I feel really allows, makes these properties eligible to be charged for the stormwater fee. That last section that says ponds that have control structures such as dams and gatehouses. The city of Fall River, through the water department stormwater, we put a lot of investment into our stormwater management and also the control of the water of the South Watuppa Pond. We've invested well over $600,000 in the rebuilding of the 4th Street Gatehouse, which is the dam structure that controls the level of the water in the South Watuppa Pond. And we've also rehabilitated, with the help of the state, all of the culvert outlets at the bottom of the Quikasham River behind the No. 7 Ironworks complex. So they've put, combinedly, we've put about $4 million in reconstruction into those culverts to allow the water from the Quikasham River, which eventually comes from the South Watuppa Pond, to be able to flow out. So those are all control structures. And actually, we're currently in the midst of replacing the sluice gates at the No. 7 Ironworks plants. We have one new one installed. The second one was just completed and will be installed in the near future. So again, that's why we feel that the residents that are around the South Watuppa Pond do fall within the jurisdiction of the stormwater fee. And that's why we're applying this to these properties. So there is a number of properties that we did recently apply it to, Judge and Greenleaf Street being one of the areas. And the normal process for that is I send them out a letter saying that we administratively proceed to charge the stormwater fee. The fee is then they're put into the normal stormwater billing cycle. The bills are sent out and expected to be paid. On the page that I send out, which I believe most of the board members got a copy of in their packet, the property owners do have the ability to file for a hearing in front of the sewer commission. We have received a couple other ones, but the ones that are in front of you today are the people that wanted to be heard through this Zoom platform. There are other ones that wanted to be heard in person, which were not able to meet in person as of yet. So that's just a little background on why these abatements are in front of you today. And I know Mrs. Riley, like I can, I'll turn it back to the chairman, and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Is it Miss Riley?
Yes,
It is.
I apologize.
Good. Before you get started, could you state your name and your address just for the record? And then you can proceed and give us your thoughts.
Sure. My name's Janet Riley, R-I-L-E-Y, and I live at 35 Judge Street, Fall River, Mass. 02721. So I received the letter from the Sewer Commission back in March, I believe. At that time, I turned in my paperwork to appeal it. As Paul had stated, in 2008, they had implemented the fee. And up until 2020, we had heard nothing further on this. So as soon as I had gotten the letter, I went in and I submitted it. Of course, at that point, basically the COVID outbreak happened and we weren't heard. So I ended up receiving my bill. I ended up contacting Paul again and city councilors in the mayor's office to find out when we'd be heard. In the meantime now, I've now received a demand notice because I feel basically I should have been heard before actually being assessed this fee. So number one, I think that, you know, at a minimum, if you decide that I am supposed to pay this fee, then I believe then at least I should be not demanded any late fee honor or any interest or penalties because I wasn't able to be heard. Let me go back to, I sent Paul pictures this morning of the problems down here. I can tell you, I've owned my property since 1982. And basically I am on the back side of the pond. I've installed a new septic system, which cost me close to $40,000, and a new well. That was thanks to a contamination of oil. So basically from another neighbor. So basically my land, if there is any runoff, is not making it into South Watuppa Pond because it flows down Judge Street onto city property, which is that piece right there to the north of my property. If basically there is a stream that runs on the back side of the houses that becomes very, very high and will overrun, but also the road, because we border Tiverton. As you can see, we basically border Tiverton. Our only way in and out is through Tiverton. There has been no improvements for any kind of drainage or anything down here. So if there's flooding, we get flooded. Everything gets flooded down here. As a matter of fact, at the end of Greenleaf Street, which is where I'm at right now with Arthur, who's sitting behind me, and Tommy's over to my left, basically that had flooded out and had caved in the road. The water that is going into the pond is a stream that starts in Tiverton that runs through the city of Fall River's property. And basically that is the major force of water that comes down here. The amount of water that comes off of our property for impermeable surfaces doesn't add up to nearly any content of what the water that is coming down that stream in that roadway. If you're looking at new houses that were built, then the engineers weren't involved in ensuring that they were done in compliance. We've just had another neighbor that put in a new septic system. So we've had numerous houses now that have been being turned over because most of the residents are starting to become older and have passed away. and basically they're being bought out. So the septic systems are going in, the land is being improved. If anything, we are helping the runoff into the pond by making sure that our land is improved. I mean, basically, I feel as though that if it's a fee, there should be some benefit. If this were a tax, then I could understand it, but that is not the case. By putting the control structures on the pond, really and truly, that's a minimal amount. You're talking $176 a year, if I'm not mistaken. There's 20 houses down here. That's over $3,500 a year. To me, that's unfair. If you're looking at, to me, you should be working with us and making sure that our area is protected because we are on the pond, and you should be providing us solutions to what is going on here. To me, to assess a fee for some water and sewer, and I understand it's stormwater, but stormwater fees are wrapped into sewer by what I've read, then basically I think then there has to be some kind of improvements in this area to make sure that we are not getting flooded and that the water that is running down the laneway into the city of Fall River's property is being managed properly, which it is not now. There is no abatement at all going on. So it's more of the principle of this. It's not as though I can't afford the $140. It's the fact that it took basically from 2008 to 2020 to now all of a sudden put a fee on here. That to me is just unfair without actually coming down and seeing this neighborhood and assessing it. I think that it's premature to just send us out a bill and to be heard by you. Are any of you at all familiar with this area?
Yes, I was down there yesterday.
Okay,
I'm
and
very familiar with that area. I've been down there for other reasons in the past. And you're right, it's a very isolated area, but it's a very pretty area. I can understand why you probably want to live there. But yes,
No.
I've been down there.
okay, so then you understand then that especially for the back properties, for that to make it into the pond is minimal. I mean, we're talking minimal. I have my septic system, like I said, is huge. So that's absorbing a lot of water. I really don't, I don't, if you've been down here, then you realize that the city of Fall River owns a strip of property that is basically not being managed or maintained. They also own, I believe, more property up in here, and they also own property over there. There's a culvert that the stream runs through that was because it was owned by a city employee and they would manage to get that through. So again, I've owned here since 1982. There has been nothing. We have to fight tooth and nail for anything. So to assess us a fee that is not going to benefit us at all is not correct. And again, I don't believe that was the intent of the ordinance. I mean, there's a number of ordinances. There's section 6, there's section 2, there's section 5. I didn't have all the time in the world because I ended up finding out about this meeting because I called Paul on Monday to find out when there was a meeting. So again, I feel that as though I should be exempted. Not only should I be exempted, but everybody down here should be exempted. And anybody that doesn't have any access to any sewerage or any kind of benefit of the sewerage of water in Fall River. I lived off, I'm going to tell you, when that happened to me, when the oil spill, I lived off of a trail that supplied water for over a year. All right. And because the engineer did not know that there was not water down here, they didn't do the job properly. And that's why my well was contaminated. So that gives you some idea of how little the city has been involved with this area. And again, I mean, I think it's only fair that you exempt us and keep us exempted. Paul said the ordinance was done in 2011, 2012. That's 8 years ago. Again, if there was somebody that ended up that had to pay this down here, there had to be a reason for it. I'm not sure what that reason is. My understanding is they needed an occupancy permit, but that's probably because that they were doing stuff illegally to begin with. So again, I followed the rules. I have actually my plan in front of me about when I went for my variances on my house, and I've done everything according to the rules and regulations. And I just feel that, it's time that, you work towards improving this area. Again, I wouldn't have a problem paying this fee if there was some kind of management of the runoff down here, but there isn't. So there's my case. And thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Paul, I got a couple of questions.
Yes.
When was Ms. Riley started receive her first bill?
So the first bill was sent out in March. The initial letter that I sent to the residents down there was dated January 29th, so that they probably received it in February.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Nope.
You're right. I have it in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay. Did I understand you correctly to say that you're being assessed a penalty from it also?
Correct. I have the demand notice here. You probably can't see it, but it says, basically it went from overdue notice 4456. It was issued on 6/9. Your City of Fall River water and sewer account is now past due and continues to accrue interest at 14%. A demand fee is now assessed because it was necessary to send you this notice. The unpaid, okay. The other, can I just add one more thing? The other thing is that basically you're not contacting the correct owners. If you're going to do this, there has to be a more up-to-date homeowner list, because it is outdated, and basically some people are not receiving these. So for us to be able to talk to one another intelligently about this, it would be nice if the City of Fall River made sure that when properties were exchanged, that the rightful owners be notified. So I know that's another department, but that's something to keep in mind while these notices are going out.
Okay, on that point, there was I believe the paperwork came through as far as the appeal goes with a Mr. Kennedy.
That's my husband.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to be sure he was the same resident.
Oh yeah, Mr. Kennedy. I'm Mrs. Kennedy. By default, I am the wife of Mrs. Kennedy.
All right.
Okay.
I got it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Like I said, I visited the site, and I remember having gone down there in the past, probably for somewhat of the same reasons. Mr. Furlan.
Yes.
Situations of this nature have come up in other parts of the city. Am I correct?
Yes.
I believe down on Lake Avenue and what have you.
Yes, correct.
Am I right?
Yes.
And we, based on what we know, considering the revised ordinance that went into effect somewhere around 2011, when I understand, or 12, we notified those property owners down there as well, correct?
Yes,
And as of today, from what I understand, they're paying that fee, correct?
they all received the same letter, and they all will be receiving bills, yes.
Okay. The question here really is, does stormwater that comes down in that area and flows through that area, does it make its way to the pond? And I realize there's no catch basins down there from what I could see. But, you know, there is some pitch of the land down there that I think does contribute to some flow that definitely goes to the pond. I can understand this person's feelings about being charged this fee after so many years and so forth, and nothing happened. But the way I see it is, we're just at this point in time trying to get our records up to date and trying to do what according provisions of the ordinance we have the power to do. Do you have any misgivings about what this lady is saying?
No, nothing. You know, I definitely, as the commission does understand her.
I mean, I've read your response letter.
Yep.
And you know, I think it's pretty concise. You know, it gives shows us the leverage we have to do what we got to do. And I got to kind of agree with you that ultimately, what rainwater does flow either through the streets or into people's property will ultimately, at some point in time, make it into the pond.
Correct.
And I think that's basically the issue there. Any of you other gentlemen have any thoughts about this?
No, I don't.
Just,
Okay.
I just want to separate the, you know, obviously it's not a sewer issue, so the whole septic issue piece is separate. You know, I think the only place in terms of rainwater that we've talked about was whether they have a reclamation system that stops it from going past their property. So that's not a septic system issue. It's something totally separate than this. So, you know, whatever happens road-wise or anything else, you know, I think the ordinance is basically saying on the big scope of things, not that something's happening on your particular property, but that all of our properties contribute to the need for the sewer commission to take care of this situation, take care of all of the culverts and et cetera. So that's what puts the burden on every property owner.
Then I'd like to ask a question. If that's the case, then why isn't it a tax and a fee?
It's not, because we're established as a
Enterprise fund.
go ahead, Paul. I want to say we're an enterprise fund,
Okay, then
and we're bound by being that, we're bound by structuring our income in a way where the cost for maintaining and operating a sewer plant is one thing, and the cost for handling or just working on stormwater is another thing. And that's how we're structured. It's not a tax as you think it is.
no, I know it's not a tax. It's a fee. A fee is different than a tax. A fee implies that you are getting something in return. That's what a fee stands for. But again, it sounds like you've already made up your mind. So, I mean, you know, to me, it's, again, I mean, this is, I'm sure, all public information. So I'd like to know everybody I'd like to be able to see what your expenditures are, what your budget is for your sewer, what you're doing to the gates. Because again, I think basically you're one of the few cities that in Massachusetts that has a stormwater fee. And basically it's one of the highest ones. So you're generating money for improvements, not just you're doing it for, I'm sure, pipes and everything else to make sure that pollutants are not getting out into the bay. Again, I think it's not fair that we are being assessed this. Lake Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, do they have water availability down there, Paul?
I do have water and sewer in Lake Avenue.
Okay, so a huge difference between Lake Avenue and Judge and Greenleaf Street, which nobody brought up there. There's not even anything close to us with Lake Avenue.
There are other multiple areas within the city, though, that do not have water and sewer that are being assessed stormwater fee and have been.
Okay, then.
The stormwater. So if water and sewer was available and houses were tied to water and sewer, then they would be charging for those specific utilities through the water and sewer rates.
I realize that, but again, when you're talking your runoff, you're talking about the drainage and recycling of that water. Am I mistaken?
Not recycling.
So no, not recycling. So we're talking about the water that runs off from properties, streets, and ends up either in the sewer system, in a stormwater system, or a stormwater facility as per the definition by the ordinance.
And because there is a structure on the pond, and I'm assuming Sordie Pond has that also?
Yes.
So those people are being charged?
That's the next area to be evaluated, yes.
Okay. I don't mean to cut you off, Ms. Riley, but.
No, I know, that's fine.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate your comments. I guess at this point in time, I myself personally, I think we have to look at it as something where we have to abide by the ordinance that's in place. I don't hear anybody saying that there isn't any infiltration of water going into the pond from any of that property. And on that basis there, my recommendation is to deny the appeal. Now, would anybody else have any discussion on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to deny the appeal to the resident of 35 Judge Street. Anybody want to make that motion?
Could I just have a discussion first? Is there something that could be done since this was appealed prior to, because of the billing system, that the interest is not a penalty assessed, but that it's waived up until this point?
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to do. It's somewhat minimal in this case, but yeah, that's the right thing to do. I agree.
Okay.
Mr. Furlan, is that something you'd agree to?
Yes, definitely. If the commission would like, we could appeal the demand fee. I will have to check to make sure whether state law will allow us to appeal the interest. But if the board makes that an emotion, we can move forward with that.
Okay, then. So I'm looking for a
Question.
Richard, you want to say something?
Yes. Now, is this just not just for one resident? We have other residents down there. Is this going to partake and eliminate this also for the other residents or not?
Well, it's my understanding that we're just starting to get to the notification of these people down there. In this particular case, we have 3 appeals. I'm sure there are other letters that are going out that have gone out or will be going out to the other residents in the area.
Okay,
I can't say how many there are, but it's a pretty sparse area. So,
right.
you know, I'm sure when they get their letter and so forth, they're going to have the same feelings. And, you know, whether, you know, if they don't believe in what they say, you know, they have the right to come in and appeal it as well.
Okay, all right.
All right. So, does anybody want to make a motion to deny the appeal, predicated on the possibility also of any surcharges or anything of that nature that's been applied to an existing bill for Ms. Riley be taken in consideration?
I make a motion to eliminate the demand fee for Ms. Rayleigh per se of a meeting right now.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're making a motion to deny the appeal, correct?
Deny the appeal and reverse the demand fee.
Okay. Now we got to do a roll call on this.
Yes, roll call vote.
All right.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, roll call.
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe the next individual to come in is who, Mr. Carrman?
Thomas Commodity, I believe 123 Greenleaf Street. Is he with you, Miss Riley, as well?
Yes, he
Yep,
is.
I'm here.
Okay. So I think the whole group was all together.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what more I can say than
Excuse me,
Jan.
hold on. Just
Yes.
listen, Mr. Carmody, just for the record, could you state your name and your address, please?
Yes, my name is Thomas Carmody at 123 Greenleaf Street down here, Fall River, Mass. And I'm looking at the map here, and I'm on the opposite end. I'm at the end of Greenleaf Street. You have an arrow. There you go, right? So I guess there isn't much more that I can say than Jan has already said. You know, if you denied her appeal, then I'm assuming everyone down here is going to get denied. You know, we're in the back houses here, and there's more water that runs from down the streets from Tiverton and the faulty stream. It runs right down the streets, down to the end of the street here that you can see, and piles up there. The road caved in. The city, the way they decided to fix the road was fill it in with stone, right? So I don't know what else to say except for the fact that, yeah, you know, except for the fact that if we indeed need to pay these stormwater fees for properties that have no city water, no city septic, then we're going to be looking to get help and support with preventing the water running down the street and coming onto our properties. You know, I never complained about it. Now, I've lived down here since 1974. And I know I just don't look good for my age. I was a child when I lived here. My father owned the property. And now, you know, it's mine. And, you know, we've never, ever asked for anything. We've done what we needed to do. We supported each other down here in this community. You know, that I guess there's nothing more I can say as far as, you know, we still feel that we should not be paying these fees. It is a fee, right? And like Jan had said, a fee is, you know, we're not getting anything for the fee that we are paying. And if we do get this fee imposed on us, we will be looking for some support with the water coming onto our properties.
Okay, Richard?
Yeah, Mr. Kamadi, I have a question.
Yes.
What should we tell all the other residents in the entire city of Fall River that you don't have to worry about paying stormwater fees when we have to pay stormwater fees as part of the city's organization? We pay stormwater fees just like everybody else around our neighborhoods. I live up on off Stafford Road. We're paying a stormwater fee. What makes us more different than you not having to pay it?
Do you have city storage?
Do we have what?
City storage?
Storage?
Sewer. This is the sewer commission, right?
Yes, that's correct. Some houses up here have sewer, some do not.
Right.
And up
So
in the
you're
Maplewood area.
right. Do you
So
have?
They are paying stormwater fees like everyone else.
Yep. So I own additional property in the city also, which
Yep.
I have septic and well there, and I do pay a stormwater fee, and I not once complained about that property, right?
Okay.
We have catch basins there. They're dummy basins. One of them doesn't even work. The city actually sends a pump truck every time we get rain to pump out one of the ones further down the street because it keeps flooding out onto the properties there. You know, I can only imagine the expense of that instead of just getting it corrected. But not once did I complain about paying that stormwater fee. But it's a little different down here. It really is. And like Janet said, it's not the $45 a quarter or what is the 4402. I had to pay a 2 cents penalty because I did make my payment 1 day late. But you know, it's just about, it's a little bit different situation down here. At my property at 315 Blossom Hill Drive, I never have complained, and I pay that fee because we do have the catch basins that when the stormwater fee was first imposed, the trucks were coming down and they were lifting the sand and salt out of the basins, you know, and trying to maintain them anyway. So I agree with you, right, that there are other people in the city. I have a friend of mine whose son just built property and had other type of, I don't know the verbiage for it or what it's called, but he had drainage. He has city well and city storage, but he still needed to have drainage put into his property, water range on top of the fee he'll be paying. So I understand people in the city. You know, if people want to appeal, then it's up to them to appeal, right? So I can't speak for anybody else. You know, I worry about me and I worry about my neighbors. And like I said, that other neighborhood, I'm paying the fee. I not one complaint. I pay my taxes too, and I don't have children in school, and a lot of that tax money goes to the schools, right? We pay it, right? So
Right, that's true.
and that's fine. I support the community. I really do, and that's all part of being a resident of Fall River, right? And I do love the city, and I do support the city, even with all the turmoil it's been through in the past with mayors and all. I stand up for this city, but for this, I don't stand up for this. I just don't agree with this. Like I said, you know, you talk about other people paying the fees. If they want to complain, that's up to them. If they want to appeal, that's up to them. If they just want to sit back and pay it, that's up to them also. My other property, I pay it and I don't complain. I see why it's there. I don't understand it down here. I really don't. There's more water that comes out to my property from Tiverton and down the city street than would ever come from my property into this pond, you know? And I do appreciate the work that you all do, but I just don't agree with this fee. And with that being said, I would also like to ask Paul at some point, I wouldn't mind seeing that 4th Street gatehouse, if I could visit that at some point.
Definitely, I would love to give you a tour.
Yeah, I think you find it very interesting, considering what we're trying to protect down there.
Right. Like I said, I'm all for that. I just really don't see the need for this fee to be imposed for this area. I really don't. So, and like I said, you've already denied Jan, and I mean, that's just my take on it, you know.
Okay, we really appreciate you coming in and giving us your thoughts about it. And again, I've looked at your property. I know where it is. You're right across the street from Mr. Pyres. You're on the dead end. It's a nice piece of property. I can understand why you probably like living down there. But you may want to consider thinking of it in this way, though. It's taken us till 2020 to somewhat catch up to where we should be. And
Well,
you've had basically about a 7-year grace on the issue. Not that I'm trying to, you know.
No, I wouldn't call it a grace period, because I mean, I recall I may have been too young. Maybe I don't remember everything exactly the way it was, but I believe that this fee was, they tried to impose this fee on this property down here in the past. 2008. And I think it was in 2008. And you know, for some reason, I wasn't involved at that point. That would have been my father. But it was decided at that point that the fee was not to be applied to the residents down here. I don't know if you have that in your history. I don't exactly know the outcome and how that was decided, but I was too young at that point. My dad took care of that. So yeah, in 2008, the stormwater fee was imposed down here. It was exempted.
Right, it was.
Right.
Okay, are you finished?
I believe so.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I hope I'm never finished. I hope I continue forever, but.
All right, well, you have that right to do that. If you want to come back again, you have a right to do that. All right, thanks very much. Again, this is some of the same problem that we just heard.
Right.
And I got to say that, you know, based on what we have in place in terms of ordinance and what we know about the reality of what goes on down there, I myself personally, I feel as though we got to deny the appeal. Unless and if we do that, with the understanding that if there's any penalties on the bills that's there, we'll hopefully we can favorably take care of that as well.
Oh, I did pay my bill. I did pay my bill. I paid 2 extra cents. I'm not going to argue about 2 cents. Yeah. Like I said, it's not about the money. It's you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe people are right. Maybe we as the sewer commission should think a little bit harder about if somebody is appealing something. You know, any extraneous charges for late payments and so forth and so on. Maybe it ought to be held in abeyance, but I'll leave that up to the staff to decide if that's legally feasible to do. But anyways, again, thanks for your comments. Unfortunately, myself, I feel as though we've got to deny the appeal. Do you gentlemen have any other things you want to add to it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to deny the appeal to 123 Greenleaf Street. Also with the understanding of, if possible, negating any extraneous charges that have been billed out.
Okay.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Roll call, Member Souza,
Here. Yes.
Member Bernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
The next,
Okay, is Mr. Pyres present?
Yes, he is.
Mr. Pyres, before you start, could you state your name and your address, please?
My name is Arthur Pyres, P-I-R-E-S. Address is 124 Greenleaf Street, Fall River, 02721. And you can see my property right in front of Tom Comedy's at 124.
Right, I saw it.
All right. Been here for 32 years.
You keep a nice, by the way, you all keep very nice pieces of property.
Thank you very much. We try to keep them up.
For you that said that we love our property down here, this is Janet Riley again. I'm looking to get rid of my property because I'm tired of living in Fall River, unlike Tommy. Just want to state that for the record.
Well, it's too bad because, you know, I got to say that when I went down there, it's almost like being in another country.
I also picked up 12 contractors' bag of trash so we can thank our residents.
Okay, point taken. Go ahead, Mr. Pyres. Hello? Did we lose him?
we may be having a technical difficulty. Seems as if it's frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, you're back.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Pyres.
They shut you off.
You shut me off. I didn't even stop.
They shut me off.
All right, look, I've been here for 32 years and, you know, never had to pay this bill. I'm here to back up these people. Why? I mean, it's a 6,300 square foot lot. I pay $5,000 a year in taxes. You think a piece of that could go towards the fee for stormwater? Why can't it? Now I'm going to be charged another $176 a year. What am I going to get for it? There's more runoff that comes from the streams down the lane. It's just a mess down here when it rains. And it just climbs all over everybody's property, and it's not right. So for us to be charged that, now can you tell me how many people on this pond are going to be paying stormwater fees? Tiverton, Westport, Swordy Pond.
No,
I mean, you got,
no, we're speaking for Fall River.
All people that we can within our
now you got me on a roll. Stony Brook out of Swordy Pond drains into this pond. Right?
Yes.
I don't know the
Right.
answer to that question.
So, Swordy people, they're gonna pay? Westport gonna pay?
Again, people within our
If I'm gonna pay it, I'll pay it, but I want everybody else to pay it too.
No.
Oh, yeah. They drain into the pond. You gotta send the water through the gates. Everybody drains into the pond. Everybody that lives on this pond. Everybody lives on Swordy Pond.
Anybody that lives on Staten
Sucker
Island?
Brook, what about Sucker Brook? Drains into this pond. I mean, I know I'm going to get denied, but I just want to get my point across. This ain't right. If I'm going to pay it, everybody's going to pay it. Okay? You can sit there and shake your head all you want. That's all I got to say, because if I keep going, I'm going to lose it.
All right.
Yeah, you laugh.
Thank you, Mr. Pyres.
No, thank you.
All right, you finished, sir?
Yep.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, we just have to deal with this situation again.
Because it's an ordinance, city council.
I'll entertain a motion to deny the appeal to 124 Greenleaf Street. And be on second that motion. Make that motion. Make that motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very
That
much.
takes us to,
I don't like being laughed at, that's all, and there's,
You're now done.
I'm talking to you guys, I'm not talking to them.
okay,
No.
can
Yeah,
we
I
cut
think-
that off?
I think Kate's going to be exiting them from the meeting.
All right, that takes us
True call.
to item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting held on May 27th. As usual, if you should have had the opportunity to look it through on the packet that was sent through. If you have any questions or want to make any comments with respect to it, please do so now. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held on May 27th.
Make a motion to approve the meeting on item number 3 dated May 27th, 2020.
Second.
Roll call.
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is a open meeting law complaint that was received on May, was that 28th?
Yeah.
From Mr. Colin Dias.
Oh,
It is my understanding, Mr. Ferland, that when we received these in the past, we always referred them to a corporation counsel.
correct.
Yeah, the council refers them to corporation counsel. Typically, the boards refer them to me for administrative response. So place on file and advise the administrator to respond would be appropriate.
Okay. So would anybody want to make a motion to forward this open meeting complaint to the corporation counsel?
Make a motion to forward the open law complaint to the Corporation Council dated 5/28/2020 by Mr. Colin Dias.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes. All right, that takes us to item number 5.
Item number 5 is, sorry, Chairman.
I believe it's a design amendment to CDM.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do have, and Kate will probably let in Robert Witowski, Megan Moody, and Nancy Beaton from CDM Smith. They have prepared a PowerPoint presentation to go over kind of a brief update on contract 1 and then also about this amendment for contract 2.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Megan, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, everybody. This is Megan. Moody.
Hi. Before you get started, could you just say who you are and what have you?
Okay. First of all, Bob Witowski, client service leader with CDM Smith. Been involved with Fall River one way or another since 1997, I believe. With me today is Megan Moody, who is a senior project manager within CDM Smith, and she's been managing the ongoing designs for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Megan, would you care to add anything?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I've been with CDM for 19 years. I've worked on a few of the other Fall River projects behind the scenes under Nancy's project management direction. So I was involved with the integrated plan, the facilities plan, and contract 1 as well.
Want me to just take the PowerPoint from here, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. The reason
You
we're
got
here
the
today-
floor, Mr. Witowski.
Thank you very much, Ned. last year, we visited you folks twice. Once was for the award of the construction contract and our GSRE services related to contract 1, which was the building demo and site electric construction. And subsequent to that, a few months later, we came back for permission to proceed with design of contract 2, which was for sludge processing and potentially for administrative facilities. And at that time, there was a question as to how much money these facilities might cost, so that the approach at that point in time was to pursue a 30% design, get some very good cost estimates, and then make a decision as to how much of what had been envisioned for contract 2 the city should proceed with. And then to come back and discuss it with you and to move forward with an amendment for completion of the design services from 30% to completion of stamp drawings, as well as to get through the bidding phase right up to receipt of bids for a construction contract. Next slide, please, Paul. So contract 1, you may recall, and by the way, do you have a time frame that you'd like to have me use as a goal? Because I can be as fast or as slow as you would like.
You could probably move as fast as you'd like.
Okay. All right. So from the facilities plan, there were 7 different contracts envisioned over an extended period of time, over a couple of decades. Contract 1, which is underway, approximately $20 million, was for the incinerator building demo, for significant site electrical upgrades, and for some miscellaneous improvements in temporary facilities throughout the, next slide, Paul. And just to give you an update on that investment, a lot of it is conduits, electrical conduits. You can see some of those photos there showing the extent of them. There's approximately $7 million worth of electrical upgrades within the facility on this site. This 2-year project is scheduled to be completed in close to a year from now. And most of the work has been on the installation of the electrical conduit and preparation of temporary facilities to relocate operations in so they could move out of those rooms, create space for the permanent boiler room. One of those pictures there shows the conversion of an operations building to a boiler room. And to the bottom left, that's a picture of a modular operations facility that was already constructed under this contract number 1. Next slide.
Is that where you hang out, Bob?
I'm sorry?
That
no, that's where
building
Matt
you saw, is that
Murphy,
where you hang out?
Matt Murphy is our full-time resident engineer on the site. I visit the site from time to time. Currently, I'm operating out of the Cumberland, Rhode Island CDM Smith office with the flowered wallpaper in the background.
Okay, very good.
Anyway, we finally decided to move my married daughter out. She's been married for 3 years. It was about time. Anyway, and these are as-built drawings. This is an overview of the entire site. Those red lines that you see there, those show the extent of already constructed electrical conduits all over the site. The one to the left is like the southern half of the plant. The one to the right is the top half of the plant. So you can see a lot of upgrades all over the site for the electrical. It's been challenging because a lot of it is underground work, and not everything was well mapped out with respect to record drawings. So a lot of cautious excavation, scooping around to make sure we didn't hit anything. Some redesign on the fly was necessary. A lot of test pits done by the contractor in advance of massive routing and digging holes. So it has been a challenging project, as most underground projects are. And where contract 1 segues into contract 2, the incinerator building, which is shown in the photo as kind of a royal blue, is going to be demoed. Right now, it's been prepared for demo, like removal of hazardous materials and removing certain items within the facility to empty it out before the total demolition of that building.
And that,
That demolition, a wall would be.
that building, Bob, that building was originally constructed in the original construction of the plant, correct? Or one of the early phases of the plant construction?
Yes, that was back in the 50s, I believe. That's
Correct.
not part of the 79 upgrades. So the
That
building.
was all primary then, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And there was no suitable reuse for that structure. Quite frankly, more expensive to try to rehabilitate it and reuse the structure than to just demo that component and build something new there, something suited specific to what the needs were. So that's why the decision was made to remove it. You know, basically not a very reusable structure. On the right-hand side, there's a little graphic which showed what we had envisioned for constructing in that building's place at the time of the facilities plan, and at the time that we approached you to do the preliminary design for this contract too. We had intended to put gravity belt thickeners there to thicken the secondary sludge. One of the big objectives of this contract too is to upgrade your sludge handling facilities. So basically to make your sludge handling more efficient, to make you flexible with options as you go away from the incinerator. Of course, the incinerator has been shut down for a couple of years, and give you the flexibility to truck either thickened sludge or dewatered cake, one or the other, depending upon what market conditions dictate. A cake sludge is typically about 28 to 30% solids, but it's almost, it's like wet dirt. You could pick it up if you cared to, and it's like moist dirt. That's what a cake is like. And that has certain places that you can truck that off to, but where you can truck things off to is limited. And sometimes you're better off just trucking a liquid sludge, which costs more for trucking, but you don't have to process it as much. And the thickened sludge is more like, I don't know, if I care to call it like a thick pea soup or a wet slurry. But that's what the gravity belt thickeners would be intended to create, the thickened sludge out of the secondary sludge, which is notoriously difficult to thicken. And the primary sludge thickens very nicely by gravity. So you would have a combination of gravity thickening of the primary sludge and gravity belt thickening of the secondary sludge, and truck the combination of the two from the site. Or if market conditions dictated, move it over to the dewatering facilities, turn it to a cake, and truck that off. Next slide, please. So we were contracted to do the 30% design, which is completed. We reviewed that with the city, and we had some nice results from that. And the future slides will show that we came up with some ideas to more efficiently reuse some of the existing facilities that would remain, saving construction costs, and thus allowing you to move forward with contract 2 with essentially all the administration facilities that were envisioned. Before we embarked on this, we thought you might have to just build a portion of the admin facilities and defer the remainder until you could go back to the voters for another referendum. But we've got some encouraging results that I'd like to share with you today. Next slide, please. This is the extent of the proposed contract 2, that sort of a square shape with the rounded corners. That's the location of the gravity thickeners and sludge storage tanks. Those would be upgraded. The 2 smaller squares right above the upgrade existing infrastructure box, that is the truck bay and the current location of the belt filter presses. the part of the incinerator building that is remaining. Above that is, in the blue rectangle, is the new structure that would replace the incinerator building. And to the right, that rectangle is the existing administration building, which would be refurbished, upgraded within this contract. Next slide, please. As far as the sludge storage and gravity thickener tanks, on the right is the overhead satellite view of them. On the left, 4 tanks. The top 2 are going to be repurposed. The one in the upper left-hand corner will be a tank within a tank, 2 tanks to store waste-activated sludge. The reason it's 2 is it gives you some flexibility. It's cheap to do because we're reusing the existing tanks, so we just put a ring wall within the inside, circumferential wall, which is a nice structural situation. Round things tend to hold water very nicely. So the waste-activated sludge, liquid sludge, would be stored within that upper left-hand corner tank, which is actually 2 tanks, a tank within a tank. To the right of that, thickened sludge would be stored, and that would be either primary thickened sludge or gravity belt thickened secondary sludge. And the bottom 2 tanks are gravity thickeners. Those would be basically, the mechanisms would be rebuilt for them to continue being served as gravity thickeners. Right now, for whatever reason, only 3 of those 4 tanks receive odor control. The whole facility would receive entirely new odor control. Single stage, we've been able to value engineer that, cut the cost quite a bit, and give you what we think is a better odor control system for less than it might have been had we not done the value engineering. Next slide, please.
So just on that, the value engineering that you talked about, we're doing odor control of the actual, where we're storing the sludge, we're going to be sealing that off from the separate areas of the building. So we're not doing odor control throughout the whole entire facility. We're only doing the odor controls where the odors are generated, which drastically cuts the size of the odor control system. Plus, then that'll drop down our long-term maintenance cost and energy cost associated with that.
Thank you, Paul. Good point. And within the building itself, while you're on the subject of odor control, we've taken some significant measures to cut down on the amount of air that needs to be treated within the sludge processing areas of the building by cordoning off certain areas. And the gravity belt thickeners are basically going to be self-contained units, so that we only have to treat the air that's created, the odors that are created within the airspace within the completely housed gravity belt thickener, versus the entire room that it's in. Serves a double purpose, cuts down on the cost of odor control, and actually prolongs significantly the life of the structure by keeping corrosive gases away from the interior of the building itself. So after this slide, I'm going to turn it over to Megan to describe the rest of the work. But I just wanted to point out that the big saving that we came up with, I had said earlier that we're able to proceed with additional administrative space. And that's because we found a way to better utilize the structure that remains than had been originally envisioned. On the left-hand side is from the facilities plan. And at that point in time, the intention was, when we were looking at it at a facilities plan level, was that the 3 units on way to the left, on the left-hand photo, those are the location where it's envisioned to replace the belt filter presses. You have belt filter presses there now. They're obsolete. They need to be removed and replaced. We were going to put the new belt filter presses in the same location. And just to the right of that, in the area where the incinerator building currently is, we were going to build a new structure and put in the gravity belt thickeners there. Well, we had a new set of eyes take a look at it, came up with the concept on the right-hand side, and the gravity, the the sludge thickening belt filter presses, instead of being located where they currently are going to be relocated right above the truck bay. So that would be the units at the top of the picture on the right-hand side is where the belt filter presses will go. It uses existing space that really was being wasted. It was there and serving no purpose right now. Right above the trucks. It simplifies odor controls. It simplifies the distribution of that sludge cake to the trucks below in the truck bay. And then in the area that was vacated by the sludge filter presses, we are moving the new gravity belt thickeners into that area. So that would be the 2 units on the lower left-hand corner of that 30% preliminary design drawing. And that frees up all the space on the right-hand side for use for administrative facilities. Next slide, please. Is this a good time for you to take over, Megan?
Whenever you'd like, Bob.
They probably wish you took over 4 slides ago.
You want me to take over now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the facilities plan stage of the projects, we looked at expanding the administration building to encompass a couple more needs than what they have now, which included moving collections system department out of the trailer that's currently on the more western side of the site. So give them some new office spaces, provide a training room, which obviously could be used for operators for training, could also be used for the city for meetings or what have you. New locker rooms and a new laboratory. So with the new space over at the solids handling building that's now available, we looked at what could we move over there to keep the admin building the same size and not do this full expansion, which would require, additional site work and, foundations and all of that. So we looked at moving a lot of folks over there, and this.
Sorry.
Yep, so it's fine. This one's fine. So the upper right-hand layout is the existing admin building, and the one on the lower left is our proposed layout, which would incorporate the training room, a couple offices for plant manager, supervisor, GIS, more administrative purposes. And all of the other rooms, the collection system, laboratory, we've relocated to the new solids handling building expansion.
So just on this admin building, we're staying within the same footprint, correct?
Right. So it's a complete renovation. We're not expanding the building. So that saved a lot of cost not having to do that expansion. And there was also some MOPO issues involved with that as well, which we can now move forward with a lot smoother with just doing a renovation.
Good.
So this is the lower level of the expansion of the solids handling building. So the process side would be to the south on this page. And this area is pretty much all locker rooms. And we can now move pretty much all operations, laboratory, collections department staff into this area where they can all have brand new locker rooms. We have men's, women's, changing rooms, laundry, all of those things that they need to get ready for the day. Next slide. The ground level would include the operations offices to the right side of the page, superintendent, assistant, a meeting room, a control room, those sort of things, a place for them to get started during the beginning of their shift and get their work orders and things like that. And then to the left, we have a new laboratory with all the needs that they need: fume hoods, glassware areas, all of that stuff that they need. And we've looked at drop off for samples to kind of minimize traffic as much as possible for this one. Next slide. And then on the upper level, we have the collections department. And this gives them some offices for the supervisors, a meeting area for them all to get their work orders, some storage space to secure some of their more valuable items. We've also got some storage for O&M and any other storage needs that the city or Veolia needs, and then a much larger lunchroom from what they currently have. Everyone's kind of dispersed, so collections probably has a little spot in their trailer, and the admin has some areas, and now they've got a nice, clean, larger lunchroom that can house everybody in one place. All right, so this is the treatment side of that building, the solids processing area. Bob went over this a little bit, but this layout shows the lower level, I think. Where's this ground? I think this is the lower level, even though it says ground.
Because the truck bay, those are actually, those dark rectangles are the tire tracks for the trucks in the truck bay.
Right, so we have the truck bay for the sludge cake. We're expanding that slightly so they can really encapsulate the whole trailer in the building, shut the doors, keep odors contained. And then to the right of the building, we're going to be replacing the chemical storage and pumps that are all on the lower level. They're at the end of their useful life and require replacement. Next slide. This middle level, just it shows a lot of the same things. We've got the truck bay on the left, and this is more the at grade level for that building. And you can see the rectangles, those are the dumpsters that the cake would go into, and then the trucks would pull them out when they're full. And then to the right is another level of storage tanks for chemicals and supplement equipment. Next. And this is the upper level, the top level of the solids handling building. This is where the current belt filter presses are located. Bob went over this a little bit. So we've got the two belt filter presses to the left in the truck bay, discharge the cake directly to dumpsters. The other thing I wanted to note on this was another cost saving measure, both capital and O&M, and is the facilities plan, and the current system has a lot of conveyors. And they work fine, but they're kind of can be a headache for operators, and there's parts you got to deal with. So we've kind of eliminated that part of it to make it a lot simpler operation. And then the gravity belt thickeners are to the left. Like Bob said, those are fully encapsulated and connected directly to odor control. Previously, with the belt filter presses in that room, odor control needed to be provided to the entire room. And it's a pretty high ceiling in there. So we were able to reduce the size of the odor control system by a large margin by reconfiguring these spaces. And I also want to mention, it's hard to see, but off the truck bay, we have a connection for liquid sludge loading. On the facilities plan, we had looked at maybe having an enclosed truck bay. And the more we looked at it and we talked with Veolia about how it would actually operate, we decided it would be probably a better cost-saving measure to just have the trucks outside, have them connected to odor control, and provide a quick connection for sludge loading. And so we were able to do a little cost saving on that measure as well.
Yeah, just on that, Megan, to elaborate a little bit, originally during the facilities plan and during the initial real preliminary design, we looked at, so we're going to have a very large garage space that a tanker truck, tractor trailer would be able to pull in, would be able to load sludge. With that, it would be a large structure, hard infrastructure that we build in that we'd have to build at a large cost, to fit a tractor trailer. Then we'd have to do odor control through that whole entire area. After some of the research that we did, we found that, if we specifically do odor controls on the trailer itself, so the vent ports in the exhaust areas of the trailer itself, while the trailer's outside. So we'll do point odor control where the odors are coming from, rather than having to do odor control for this large space. You know, the trailers will still be outside. They'll be on, you know, the south side of the building. So that way noises and stuff isn't to the residents to the north side. The building will help block that. And then the odors will be point sourced. We'll be able to evacuate the odors out, you know, through the ports they come out of. So we don't believe that odor will be an issue. We've talked to a bunch of other wastewater treatment facilities that do have this, and just the cost of that additional building, you know, it was pretty high. So we feel that this was a great cost savings measure through the, you know, one of the things that was really developed by doing these 30% design, and then now we're going to go into the full design. The 30%, doing the 30% design really let us realize a lot of these cost saving measures that we're going to be implementing in this contract. Sorry to cut you off, Megan.
Oh, no, not at all.
If I may
Yeah,
call-
so I mean, that saves on capital. It also saves on O&M, chemical costs, running fans, all of those things tie into that, right? So, okay. Oh, we're already here, our favorite slide. So I don't know if Bob, you want to go over this one?
Sure, let me, just one last thing on the liquid sludge. I just wanted to say that, you know, the liquid sludge might be more akin to, you know, what you see when you see a big truck delivering gas to a gas station. It doesn't smell when they do that because you're dealing with something different. You're dealing with a liquid. So with the liquid sludge, we have the flexibility to do something like that outdoors with appropriate odor control. That's a luxury you don't have with the cake, because the cake has to be distributed into an open bin. It just doesn't flow like a liquid into a truck. So the trucks have to be open. You have to distribute the cake into the truck. That's why you needed a truck bay for the sludge cake, but that's also why you do not need a truck bay for the liquid sludge. Onto the contract 2 proposed budget.
Excuse me?
Yes, sir.
Can we go back to one of the earlier drawings? I'd like to talk to you about the expanded electrical room on that drawing.
Okay. Paul's in control, so.
Just tell me when to stop.
The one that showed the extended electrical room. I have to keep going.
Are you
The
talking
admin
about
building.
the picture, the picture from contract
Oh,
1?
here it is, right here.
Here it is.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That expanded electrical room, what's the voltage going to be pertaining in that room at any time?
I don't know the answer to that. It could be the 600, it could be 240. I don't know the exact answer. There's no big high load equipment in that building, so it's certainly not going to be very high voltage in there.
No, but first of all, you have the entrance exit door facing the wrong way, I believe. In electrical room, you have to have the crash door to go out. And that is showing that the door is going to open in, and it only shows one door. I will check on NEC to find out what is required. I have the electrical code book here in front of me in my house, but I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not going to take away from your meeting. But we'd like to have that question and reverse that electrical room door.
Yep.
I'm certain we'll take care of that. Thank you for pointing it out. This is the architect's concept, and this is the administrative facilities were only carried to about a 15 to 20% level of detail versus all the sludge processing was brought to a 30% level of detail. This was basically, this component was done solely for the purpose of trying out the concept for the purposes of getting the cost estimate. And the electricians, our electrical engineers, haven't been involved yet. So I'm sure once the electrical people get involved with this part of the facility that correction would have been made. But thank you for pointing it out.
Okay, and the other thing I just noticed as I was looking at this, you have adjacent to that electrical room, you have men's and ladies' restrooms. So therefore, that wall should be a solid wall and not a partitioned wall, I think, I'm not sure. Don't hold it to me, but that would be another item to look at. How far the water was going to be. There should be no water. If that's electrical room, there should be no water going above that ceiling
Okay,
in that electrical room.
we'll make certain we follow up on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
other than that, I yield.
So just for an update for the committee, President Ned Almeida did have internet connection issues. He is with us now via telephone. He doesn't have the ability to Zoom in, but just so that everybody is aware, Ned is with us by phone.
Okay, the current view is the proposed budget spreadsheet for contract number 2. The first half of it on the top is what the pricing was to get to the 30% design completion. And in order for us to continue work seamlessly instead of having to stop and restart, which causes a lot of inefficiency with staff, in that approved budget, there was a line item that's identified here as class 4A for the 100% design commencement. So we've already started to proceed with the 100% design. We're advancing the 30% design as we speak. If we get approval from the city today, we will continue to proceed with the design piece. The bottom half of that spreadsheet shows what the value is for amendment number 1. The number that we had identified sometime during the last year, I believe it was in the early fall, that number was a little bit lower, on the order of $2.6 million. The reason it has gone up is not inflation. The reason it has gone up is because we are now designing more than we had envisioned at that time, because at the time we had presented that budget, which was about $300,000 less, we weren't going to be doing all these administrative facilities. But because of the significant capital cost savings that we've been able to come up with by being more efficient with odor control and by beneficial use of existing buildings, we're designing more administrative facilities than had been originally envisioned. So hence the small adjustment in the design cost. This doesn't only include design or the additional design of admin facilities. We also added additional assistance for SRF.
I got Artosky talking.
Yes. Should I shut up and listen to you, Ned?
No, I'm sorry. I just came in. There's been some technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
All right. I was going to say, in addition to the additional design for administrative facilities, we're also air permitting and assistance with SRF, getting additional loan applications, assistance with some land acquisition, bidding services, and dealing with the requirement for pre-qualification of contractors because of the size of this job required as well. So this includes everything to get you through the bid opening and the recommendation of award presentation to the board, anticipated for June of 2021.
Yes, so the total amount of amendment number 1 is $2,980,352. Again, you can see as how that's broken down on your screen. You know, bidding, you look at bidding alone. Bidding is a 3 to 6 month process through the new DCAM requirements. There's even though all the companies are pre-qualified through DCAM to be able to bid on these types of projects, we still have to go through an open and fair pre-qualification projects for our specific project. That's a requirement of DCAM. Then we have to through sub-bidding, which is a full bidding process, and then GC bidding, which is a full bidding process. So that's anywhere from a 3 to 6 month time frame just in the bidding to be able to get this project out. You know,
Well, can you hear me?
yes.
All right. I'd just like to chime in. You know, I've been kind of like indisposed, but it's my understanding that what we're trying to do here is we're looking for a design amendment, right? And and CDM is asking for an additional almost $380,000 to be added to the original cost of the design. That would then bring it up to $2,980,352. Is that correct?
Just a correction on that, Ned. So the actual amendment, the change order amount is $2,980,352.
Right.
That would bring the total contract value of the base contract and the amendment number 1 up to $4,475,529.
Okay. See, I was looking at it, the letter that I guess Mr. Otowski sent you. It talked about we have revised our design budget amendment projection for that was presented to you in September. In September, we had projected the amendment 1 for completion of contract 2 design would be $2,605,000.
Yep.
Now project a need for $2,980,352, which is an increase of $374,999. So isn't the amendment supposed to be for the amount of the increase?
No. So how we originally did this project is we did an original contract to get us to the 30% design. When we were at that 30%, when we were doing that original contract, we asked for an estimate of what the to get from 30% to 100% design.
Right.
That was the $2 million.
$605,000, right?
353 that you mentioned.
Right.
The reason that this amendment didn't come in at $2,605,000 is because we've actually added so much more into this project than originally anticipated. So originally anticipated, we were doing dewatering building, the sludge thickening building. We were cutting out any work on the administration building because we felt that it would be outside of our budget to be able to do within this project, and we weren't doing any work on the maintenance building. Through the 30% design, the innovative ways that we were able to come up with space-saving measures, not having to build an additional building for the sludge, liquid sludge loading, not having to put an addition on the administration building, leaving that within the same footprint, adding an additional story onto the dewatering building. So now we're going to have our locker rooms and everything in a subgrade where you don't need windows in the locker room. So those are down lower, and the 2 stories above that, and we were able to fit in a laboratory, the collection space, lunchroom, and that type of stuff into there. With the laboratory alone, just the design of the specifics with the laboratory and all the different necessities that need to go into designation, design in that laboratory space, that wasn't going to be part of that original contract. So for the additional, that letter was just explaining why the amendment number 1 didn't come in at what they originally estimated, why it was higher because of all of these additional things that we were able to fit in.
Yeah.
We feel we'll be able to fit into the overall budget.
Okay. All right. I guess it's kind of semantic from what you're saying to what I was thinking.
Yes.
All right, so are you looking for an approval to amendment number 1?
Yes.
All right, to the amount of $2,980,000 and $2,980,352.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody want to make that motion?
Make that motion.
Anybody second?
Second.
Roll call.
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
Member Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You have to say the dollar value?
The motion was made with the dollar value of $2,980,352.
Right, okay.
So it was made during the motion.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. This takes us to item number 6.
Thank you, Bob and Megan. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Bob, thank you very much. Sorry I got a little sidetracked, but as usual, your presentations are always very informative.
Thank you, and we hope to see you in person sometime in the not too distant future. Maybe we can go take a look at the existing site.
Yeah, it'd be good to get back to the normal scheme of things. Wouldn't it?
Absolutely, I'm ready. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
All right,
you.
this takes us
Bye now.
to item number 6, the Wilson Road Pump Station. We're looking for a design amendment number 4 by Wright Pierce. And I believe it's to the tune of $425,000. Is that
Yes.
correct, Mr. Berlin?
Yes, so this would be for the design of the Wilson Road Pump Station. Wilson Road Pump Station is one of our pump stations that was constructed in the 70s. It's a dated pump station. It was included within the authorization that was approved by referendum ballot. Currently we have under construction the President Ave pump station, which is roughly probably around 60% complete, 50 to 60% complete, and we're just starting the construction of the South End pump station. Wright Pierce has done the design of both of those pump stations. I've been very happy with their designs, with their cost-saving measures through the designs, and they also take a good look at the daily operations and how to incorporate into the design to make it easier for our operators to be able to function and operate these stations. So this would be amendment number 4 to a prior contract that we have with for the design of the other stations, and looking at the design amendments. I've been through this and reviewed the scope with them. I am comfortable. The reason that this one is a bit more than the other 2 pump stations that we have done is with the Wilson Road Pump Station, we also have a isolation area there for the industrial park high service area on the water distribution side. So the plan is for this facility is to have actually 2 pumping stations together. Sewer will be a subsurface with submersibles like we're doing on all of our stations, and half of the building will be the electrical for the sewer pump station. The other half of the building will actually be a clean water, a drinking water pump station to supplement the one that we have at Commerce Drive. That way, one building, one electric service will do dual purpose. So they will be designing the water aspect of that too, water pumping gas aspect of that too. So that's why this one is a bit higher than some of them that we have had in the past. So,
Paul, could you give me, I'm trying to visualize just whereabouts on Wilson Road this is.
So this is, if you're going up Wilson Road from Highland Avenue and you are heading east, if you go over Route 24, right when you go over the bridge of Route 24.
Oh, it's on the left-hand side?
Left-hand side, the north side of the road.
Okay.
It's
All
current.
right. This won't have anything to do with the Hathaway Commons pump station, does it?
No, this does not have anything to do with the Hathaway Commons pump station. Hathaway Commons pump station actually flows from gravity down to this pump station.
Okay. All right. All right, very good. So we're looking at another phase of replacing our pump stations and upgrading them and so forth.
Correct.
All right. So we're looking at a total amendment for $425,000.
Yes,
That should take us through the whole design phase, correct?
that'll take us through design and bidding, yes.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Anybody have any questions about this or comments they want to make about it? If not, entertain a motion to accept amendment number 4 for Wright Pierce for the upgrade of the Wilson Road pump station for $425,000.
Make a motion, we accept the bid for $425,000 for the addition of the pump station on Wilson Road.
Second.
Roll call.
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
President Almeida,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. It takes us item number 7, the summary of chemical quotes, which I believe we will be addressing for the new coming fiscal year 21. Am I correct?
Yes, correct. So our staff did go out to bid for the FY21 chemical bids. The ones that we had to go for IFB for was sodium hypochlorite, 300,000 gallons, potassium permanganate at 40,800 pounds, and sodium bisulfite of 85,000 gallons. Within those, we had multiple bidders on all 3 IFBs. The low bidders for hypochlorite was bought in Remington in the unit price of $0.6989 per gallon. Total price of $209,670. On the potassium permanganate, we had Shannon Chemicals as the low bidder. The unit price was $1.47.4 per pound. The total price of $60,139.20. On the sodium bisulfite, the low bidder, PVS Chemical Solutions, at a unit price of $1.19 for a total bid price of $101,500. Again, we've reviewed these bidders in the bids. We believe that the low bidders are within compliance and will meet our needs for the FY21 supply of these chemicals. This is within our budget, FY21 to FY20. The prices actually, sodium hypo went up by $3,000. Potassium permanganate went down by $1,000, and sodium bisulfite went down by about $6,500.
Yeah, I thought that's pretty good when you consider the way things have been going.
Yeah.
How do you want us to deal with? You want us to deal with these 3 items first?
Yeah, I think these 3 items, if you vote, do a vote to award the contracts as proposed on the letter, on the memo that was presented to you.
All right. Okay. We'll take them one at a time then.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions with regard to what we've
No.
done here? This is an annual thing we do every year. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think the staff has done a good job of going out and getting competitive pricing. And on that basis there, I don't see any problem with what we need to do here. So unless anybody does have any questions about it or comments, I'll entertain a motion to award the hypochlorite contract for fiscal year 21 to Boarding Remington at a unit price of 0.6989 cents for a total price of $209,670.
Make a
You wanna
motion.
Make that motion?
Motion made.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with respect to potassium permanganate, motion to award contract to Shannon Chemicals at a price of $1.47.4 cents at a contract value of $60,139.20. Make that motion.
Make a motion. Accept it, $60,139.20.
Second.
Member
Roll
Souza,
call?
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes. Okay, with respect to sodium bisulfite, motion to award the contract to PVS Chemical Solutions at a price of $1.19 and total contract price of $101,500. Someone make that motion, please.
Make that
Make a
motion.
motion. Make a motion, $101,500.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. This then, the items, the next items that we have that are shown are items that would come in under $50,000. Each item, $50,000 annually. How would you want to handle? How should we handle these, Paul?
Yeah, if you'd like, since they're under the $50,000, they required quotes. We went out for quotes and got the quotes back. If you'd like, I can read through the items. Again, since they're under $50,000, I have the right to, the board has given the administrator the right to go into a contract under $50,000. So if you'd like, I can read all these and then we can just,
Except,
a recommendation to place this memo on file rather than voting on them all.
Okay. So why don't I do this, Paul? Why don't I put out as a motion to award to Boarding Remington Algonquin products. Boarding Remington for hydrated lime, Algonquin products for dry deodorants, Algonquin products for wet deodorants, air gas for liquid oxygen, Boarding Remington for sodium hydroxide, JCI Jones for sodium bisulfite drums, and Polydyne for polymer. There be awarded their contracts as stated, all of which are under $50,000. Make a motion to approve those.
Make a motion.
second.
Roll call?
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Bernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Guess that takes us to toxicities testing. And I believe we're looking at awarding the contract to the existing company that has it now, which I believe is New England Bioassay. They have come in at a price of $11,000 as a low bid.
Correct.
And it's I guess the recommendation is to award the contract to them. And this is an annual contract. Anybody have any questions or comments want to make about it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to award the toxicity testing for fiscal year 21 to New England Bioassay in the amount of $11,000.
Make the motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Souza,
Yes.
Member Vernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
This takes us to item number 9, contract update, Woodward and Carrman. I believe it's to do with procuring parts for the scatter system. Go ahead, Mr. Ferlin, if you want to add anything to this.
Yeah, so again, this is part of, you know, the Cypress SCADA upgrade that we're doing down at the wastewater treatment plant. We're bringing a lot more of the remote capabilities of the system back to one control room, one area for our operators, and also so that we can record that data. The total amount of this contract is, this amendment is $38,487.14. Again, they've gone out with Woodward and Curran's, you know, buying power nationwide. They're able to get some of the best pricing on this equipment. So we'll be contracting with them for them to supply us the equipment.
How do you feel about what's going on with them?
I've been very happy with them on the SCADA system. You know, that's kind of what I brought them in for. Is to concentrate on our SCADA system and make sure that our SCADA system is easy and usable for our staff. You know, we can give our guys all the bells and whistles in the world. All they're gonna do is silence the whistles and not listen to the bells if they don't want it. You know, one of the prime things that I started with Woodward and Carrman was telling them, you know, if my guys don't use it, I don't want it and I don't want to pay for it. You know,
Absolutely.
You know, and they've really dug in and really worked with our operators to make sure that our system is well used and well managed by our guys. So I've been extremely happy with their work on the SCADA system.
Good. Anybody have any questions regarding this, comments? Okay. I would imagine we're going to see some more of this in the future, Terry. I mean, Paul.
Yep. Again, you know, we're taking this as small chunks. You know, we don't want to throw everything at the guys at once, so we're taking it small chunks. And you know, as the guys get accustomed to one thing and be like, oh, we'd like to have this. This will benefit from this. You know, one good thing, if the guys come to you asking for it, you already have their buy-in. You know they're going to use it. So,
all right, good.
I think it's been a good collaboration here.
All right, very good. Okay, we need a motion to approve the amount of $38,487.14.
Make a motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
Member Souza, Member Bernia,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Takes us to item number 10.
Item number 10 is the change order number 1 for William Canning Boulevard, KR Resendes contractor. The amount of the change order is $175,535.97. So William Canning Boulevard, all the way from Newton Street, heading north to Tucker Street, has been under construction, fully revamping that road. The city has obtained a Mass Works grant for the majority of the work that's being done out there. The roadway work, sidewalk, curbing, everything like that is being paid for by the city through a Mass Works grant, which made it great for us. So rather than us having to burden the cost of doing our drainage and redoing the road, it was a great collaboration between the engineering department, the planning department, and our department to be able to get in there and do all this work at once. As you may know, so some of the areas, as you can see on the screen, this is right in front, right next to Anthony Street at First Ford during a heavy rainstorm. I believe this was 2014 or so. Heavy rainstorm. The inlet capacity in that area was drastically undersized. The drainage through that area was drastically undersized for the large impervious that come through. This had separated drainage in this area, but over at Tucker Street, it tied right back into the sewer. What we've done through this project is install large infiltration areas, so underground storage chambers, plus they're open at the bottom and the sides to allow some of that water to infiltrate into the ground so that it doesn't end up in our sewer system having to be treated down at our plant. It's a good thing. The original contract was in the amount of $2 million from the sewer division to install the drainage was $2,491,931. That was the original contract. What this change order includes is a couple of things. When we were in Tucker Street working on the drainage, there was some unforeseen conditions with the water line underground. One of the other things, this area in the past was years and years ago was a very wet, very different landscaped area than it is now. Some of the subsurface soils that we ran into, we did borings to this site prior to try to determine subsurface conditions so that we could design the base for the infiltration system. But we could have poked holes every 5 feet and missed some bad spots of soil.
Mm-hmm.
We did run into some of those bad spots of soil, so we did have to go in, remove some material down to good material underground, bring it back up so that it would be able to, the foundation for our infiltration areas would be there. So that's another large amount of this change order is some of that dealing with the unsuitable soils that we did find. Two other things, we did add in a different RCP pipe over connection into Lawton Street. When we got over there, we decided to upsize it a little bit more just in case we wanted to add any future drainage coming in from that area. I've reviewed these change orders. I am comfortable with the work that has been done out there.
When do you expect this thing to be completed?
We're looking at about August. So the city engineer has left about 4 months ago. I've been working with engineering very closely, figuring out the budget. So I've kind of gotten involved in this project. But I'm looking at probably August timeframe. We are waiting for a permit to come back from Mass DOT to do the area from Newton Street heading to the 24th off ramp. So we're waiting for that permit to come back so that the contractor can start that work in that area. Out there, even in the past 2 weeks, most of the sidewalks have been completed, curbing has been completed. A lot of the medians have been set up. They're getting close to being able to get some permanent pavement down on this first section between Tucker and one of the things that's really going to push the project off a little bit is the lead time of the signalization mast arms. And again, this isn't related to the sewer commission. This is all, I'm borrowing myself out to engineering to assist them. You know, to do with the mass DOMs, they had about a 40-week lead time when they were ordered. So some of that stuff just to be able to get that manufactured, plus then also the COVID has impact, you know, in some delivery on some of the lead time items. So,
Paul, you mentioned, you said engineering left.
the city engineer J.R. Fry that originally started this project, yes, he left the city's employ.
Okay, all right.
So
All right, so are you the go-to guy on this whole thing now?
I've been working with the city has contracted with Byron Homes to assist with the engineering department. I have been working with John Perry and Byron's Homes. We've all been working together to make sure the project come out good.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Sounds like Mr. Ferland is satisfied with these numbers. So, anybody have any questions with regard to or comments about it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve change order number 1 to the tune of $175,535.97.
Make a motion.
Make a motion, they accept it as $175,535.97 to KR Zendes.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Member Bernia,
Yes, yes.
Member Souza,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to the item 11, the Crestbrook Drainage Project.
Yes.
Looks like Wright Pierce is requesting an amendment, number 5, to the tune of $58,000, which I assume is going to be our final outlay.
So this will be the final outlay. It's expected to be the final outlay to Wright Pierce. So this is some additional services. So the Crestbrook project, as you know, we've made great advances with the Crestbrook project through Oak Grove Cemetery, down by David Street, Eastern Avenue, Rotary, out all the way to Sucker, the original Crestbrook flow that goes into our interceptor. The other thing that we've done is the work down in the Hyacinth Street area. So we've pretty much completed Hyacinth Street North and Hyacinth Street South drainage projects. This has to do with the Hyacinth Street area of Crestbrook. Two things here. We have Hyacinth Street North. When that was built and designed, we had, there's a cross pipe right where that culvert comes out that goes underneath 24 and conveys the water across into our interceptor drain. That's the Hyacinth Street North. On the Hyacinth Street South project, that's always been one that kind of plagued us. If you remember back to the original authorization, our original plan was to take and jack and bore a line underneath Route 24 to be able to relieve the water from behind the properties in the Hyacinth Street South area. Once we got into design of that, you know, jacking and boring, I believe, was somewhere in the cost range of 1.7 million was the estimated cost to be able to jack and bore underneath 24. You know, once we got into the construction of the Crestbrook project, there was a couple of things that came around. Mass DOT is currently doing work on Route 24. They're going to be milling and repaving Route 24 from about Freetown all the way to 195. Once we realized this was happening, you know, we started looking at our options. Once we did subsurface examination, jacking and boring or directional drilling underneath 24 wasn't an option due to the subsurface conditions. We were too shallow to be able to directional drill. We were too cobbly to be able to jack and bore. Neither of those options would work. So we went back to do an open cut excavation, installing pipes across Route 24. Once we came to that determination that due to the subsurface conditions and the soil conditions, we'd have to do that, you know, kind of started talking with Mass DOT about being able to potentially work with them. So rather than us going out, setting up full detours, setting up full traffic controls, trying to work with DOT to be able to get out there to actually do the, while they're doing their project, to do our crossing as well. So this amendment to Wright Pierce's contract is for the continued design. So we have full design plans. They were able to do that under the existing Crestbrook contract that we have, to the full design plans, subsurface soil analysis and stuff like that, to be able to get to the point where we got it to Mass DOT. What it's looking like now is that we're going to be able to work with DOT to have their contractor that's doing the highway repaving do this underground work for us. It'll be our cost. We'll pay for our work, but there's going to be a huge savings overall of doing this work while we're doing the milling and overlaying. It's going to save us on final paving cost. It'll save us on traffic setup and detours. So there will be a huge savings. This amendment is going to take us through the remainder of permitting with DOT, as well as DOT through the shop drawing submittal process, the quote process, the final design and construction.
You feel confident that this is it, or is there anything else pending, maybe with the contract that's still to be decided?
No, I'm confident that DOT is on board with our, we just got the first round of comments back from DOT, and they were very minor, just a couple of questions on how we were planning on setting up traffic, how are we setting up our barriers, and just some adjustments in our overall budget that DOT requires whenever they work with a community on a project. So I'm comfortable that this $58,000 will be able to bring us to completion of this 24 crossing.
Okay, it definitely was a challenging project, but I think we got through it, and I think everybody did a good job on it, considering.
Yeah.
Okay, unless you gentlemen have any questions with regard to this, further questions or comments you want to make, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment to Wright Pierce. Is it?
Mm-hmm. Wright Pierce, yes.
Yeah, in the amount for amendment number 5 in the amount of $58,000.
Take a motion.
Okay.
Roll call.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
Member Souza,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. This takes us finally to item number 12, which is other business. Does anybody have any other business they want to talk about? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
President Almeida, if I could just have the floor for, I know I've spoken a lot during this meeting, but just one thing, I'd really like to thank our staff, our wastewater staff and water staff for working through this COVID crisis, making sure that our residents and our customers have proper sanitary means to be able to, that our plant stayed within compliance. There was no violations. Our staff really coming through, working through this whole entire COVID-19 pandemic continues as well. I just want to thank our staff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. How far do you think we are from being able to hold meetings inside City Hall again?
So that I'm not sure. Currently I know they're trying to modify the council chambers so that the city council would be able to have meetings. I think we may still be a little ways away from being able to have them. Once we get the clearance from the health department and administration to be able to do that, I feel that within our conference room, we could probably practice social distance.
Sure.
We would just have to make arrangements for public input or other people to be able to come in by either a Zoom meeting or some other type of means. But currently, the administration and the health department hasn't cleared us during the reopening procedure for that.
So are people from the outside allowed to come into the sewer and water departments today and
Yep.
do business?
So as of last week, City Hall, all employees are back to work at City Hall. All water and sewer employees work. If the public wants to come into City Hall, they can call the appropriate department, whichever one it is, water or sewer, or any department in City Hall. Typically, we would like to work with the customer and provide them any information that they need or answer any of their questions remotely. Even though there is the protocol to be able to allow people to come in, we do like to hold that as a last resort.
Okay.
If you do want to come in, then get transferred. They'll get transferred to Caitlin in my office. And will schedule an appointment for them. They'll be scheduled for a 1-hour block to be able to visit whatever certain departments that they schedule with. That they don't allow more than 10 people from the public within the building at one time. So that's why the schedule have to be set up. And those times is between 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon is when the public's allowed to schedule those appointments to come in. We have had a couple of appointments for people to have building permits signed or occupancy permits signed. So the system has been working good. And I feel that, we've been able to help a lot of people remotely now. But if the need does arise where people need to come into the building, that option is available.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to get a handle on just what's going on.
Yep.
All right, anybody else have any other comments about it?
Yeah, I have questions.
Okay.
All these streets that we're talking about, the Judge Street and Greenleaf Street, how many houses down there that have been exempt from this?
So Judge and Greenleaf was a total of 14 houses.
Mhm.
On the South Watuppa Pond, the whole stretch that between Lake Ave, Flores Way, Wing, Line, Corey's Lane, Bridle Lane, Gaudette Drive, Captain's Circle, and East End Sportsman's Club. There was an additional 52 that we found through our evaluation.
Okay. How about the other one out towards in the back of Linwood Lane, out in Tiverton, that border the water itself and Saudi Pond?
So Shorty Pond, that's our next area that we have to go out and evaluate and see who's being charged for stormwater out in that area. We do like to do a pretty thorough evaluation just to make sure that, we don't want to double bill something. We don't want to just activate an account and have somebody get 2 bills. So that's the next area we're going to go through, identify all the residents that do have impervious surface, and then we'll do the same process if there's somebody out there that isn't billed.
Okay, another question. Up behind Woodward Lane and those roads, those streets out there, you go down through Aruta's Farm?
So,
Familiar with that?
So Aruta's Farm brings you down to Judge and Greenleaf Street.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
All those houses there.
Yeah.
All right.
Dick, if you ever take a ride down it, you'll be amazed by what you go through to get to Greenleaf and Judge Street. It's like going into another world. Like, you never know, you would never thought it would have been there, and that it actually is owned by Fall River.
Yeah, that's true. I went down there for a generator application, and that's how I found out that all the water abutting the South Watuppa Pond way up the extreme south end prior to going into Saudi Pond was all Fall River.
Yeah. So Winwood Lane, I think you may be talking about getting down to the Captain's Circle area.
Correct.
Yeah. So those properties, we just sent letters out last week, and those will be charged moving forward. So that's part of that additional 52 other properties that we located through this evaluation.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing
Thank you, guys.
One thing that will definitely be the outcome of all that will be there'll definitely be more appeals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. You know, there's a house right across the street that has no sewerage, but they're paying water fee. And the other house next to it has no sewerage, and they're paying the same water fee, so
Stormwater fee,
never appealed anyway.
Okay, anybody got anything else? If not,
Nope.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Everybody make it?
I'll make a motion.
Richard,
second,
Members,
roll call?
Member Souza,
aye.
Member Bernier,
Yes.
President Almeida.
Definitely.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. It's been a long one, but thanks for your time and your help. We appreciate it. We'll get through this.